Loneliness took me by surprise, guiding me down an unexpected path I never anticipated. Once the flames of my marriage burned brightly, but now they have dimmed, leaving only a chill in their wake. My husband, perpetually occupied and ever so remote, regarded me more as a companion and shared space than as a partner in life. The night stretched on, a canvas of emptiness where conversations danced in the realm of monotony, and intimacy faded into the shadows of forgotten times. I convinced myself it was all part of the journey, that this was simply the way things unfold after so much time together. Yet, beneath the surface, there was a yearning for attention, for passion, for a spark to remind me that I was still vibrant and alive. And there he stood, my stepson, brimming with confidence, keenly observant and far more perceptive than I had ever imagined. Initially, it was innocent, mere glances and brief encounters. Where I sensed a recognition that had faded in my husband's eyes, I brushed it aside, persuading myself that it was merely a figment of my imagination. Yet, the harder I attempted to brush it aside, the more it captured my attention. The way his gaze held, a moment stretched just beyond the ordinary. He had a knack for being present, lingering in the background, as though he were anticipating an unvoiced moment to unfold. One evening, following yet another quiet dinner with my husband, I withdrew to my room. The solitude had grown too heavy to bear. In that moment, I yearned for a brief reprieve, a chance to break free, even if only for a fleeting instant. The house lay in stillness, my husband having retreated to bed early, while I imagined my stepson tucked away in his room, immersed in the mysterious realms that young men often wander into. My hands roamed freely, searching for a way to escape the mounting frustration that had taken root within me. My breath quickened, my mind clouded, enveloped in the sensation of finally feeling something profound. Engrossed in the unfolding scene, I remained oblivious to the soft creak of the door as it opened. When the truth dawned upon me, the moment had already slipped away. I stood still, caught in the moment. My stepson stood there, his expression a mystery waiting to be unraveled. Surprise, delight, what about something different? The quiet lingered between us, heavy and unyielding. My heart raced with anticipation, a blend of trepidation and a shadowy essence coiling within me. I hurried to shield myself, yet the harm had already been inflicted. He had witnessed it all. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, a silent connection weaving through the space between us. He remained still, his gaze unwavering. My voice struggled to find its way out. It is not your place to be in this moment. He tilted his head slightly, his lips curling into a shape that danced on the edge of a smile. I truly did not intend to disrupt the flow. His tone was serene, almost unnaturally so. That wasn't the response I had anticipated. Neither shame nor discomfort. Something more intentional, carefully crafted. A tingling sensation danced across my skin. Go, I murmured, uncertainty weaving through my words. He paused, his gaze locked onto mine. With a deliberate motion, he pivoted and exited, gently closing the door as he departed. I found myself seated, gasping for air, my heart racing like a drum in my ears. What had just unfolded, and why? Despite the overwhelming embarrassment, did an exhilarating thrill surge through me? One would expect that only shame would wash over me. Yet, I found myself wide awake for hours, reliving that moment repeatedly, my body still aching from what remained unresolved. The following morning, I steered clear of him. Every time I dared to glance his way, a wave of warmth flooded my cheeks, making it impossible to maintain my composure. As I sat at the breakfast table, my husband was across from me, lost in the glow of his phone, utterly unaware of the world around him. If he had any inkling of the events that unfolded the night prior, of what his son had witnessed, the entire narrative would come to a swift conclusion. I turned my attention to the steaming cup before me, seeking solace in its warmth to calm my restless spirit. Yet, I sensed his gaze upon me. He was not evading my presence. He was observing me with an intensity that surpassed his previous scrutiny. Each look, each subtle movement in his seat seemed intentional. He was putting me to the test, observing my every reaction with keen interest. Is everything all right? My husband's voice sliced through the tension, a beacon in the thick air. I conjured a smile. The night was restless and sleep eluded me. A soft chuckle escaped my stepson, a sound so faint yet potent enough to send a shiver racing down my spine. He understood. He was fully aware of his intentions. Throughout the day, I endeavored to maintain my distance, yet it proved to be an impossible task. He always appeared, lingering just a bit too near when I reached for something, his presence brushing against me in the hallway. Serendipitous, yet deliberate. The atmosphere surrounding us hummed with an unspoken tension, a thrilling danger that lingered in the silence, palpable to both of us yet left unacknowledged. That evening, while I tittied up in the kitchen, he stood by the counter observing my every move. I feigned indifference, yet my hands quivered as I washed the dishes. "There's no need to be so anxious," he remarked with an easy demeanor. I paused for a fleeting moment, a breath caught in the web of uncertainty. Before summoning the strength to press onward, "I'm not quite sure what you mean." His smirk grew more pronounced. Once upon a time, in the quiet embrace of night. My breath hitched. I pivoted to meet his gaze, striving to maintain a calm facade. Yet the intensity in his eyes unraveled my composure. He stood tall, unashamed. He bore no shame. He found himself captivated. I gulped with difficulty. That was a misstep indeed. He ventured a step nearer. Was it? I ought to have put an end to it right at that moment. There was a moment when I could have stepped in. A chance to halt the unfolding events before they twisted into chaos. Yet, I chose not to. I stood there, allowing the tension to swell, letting his words hang in the air between us. He extended his arm beyond me, retrieving a glass from the cabinet. The warmth of his skin brushing against mine. It was the faintest brush. Yet it coursed a surge through every fiber of my being. I tightened my grip. It simply cannot unfold. He remained right there. So, what holds you back from turning and leaving? I found myself without a response, for the simple reason that I had no desire to. For the first time in years, I felt acknowledged, desired, and that filled me with dread. Just as I was about to speak, my husband's voice resonated from the other room. "Darling, are you ready to join me in our cozy haven for the night?" The weight of reality descended upon me. I took a step back, creating space between us. My stepson just observed me, his eyes brimming with an emotion that was difficult to decipher. I turned and walked away, yet his gaze lingered. A searing presence that followed me long after I had disappeared from sight. The days that followed were a true test of endurance. Each second spent in his presence was charged with an electric tension, as if the air itself held its breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. He carried himself with ease, exuding warmth and approachability. He embraced a newfound boldness, his actions more deliberate and purposeful than ever before. My husband, lost in the whirlwind of his work, remained oblivious, leaving me exposed to the allure I was desperately striving to fend off. One evening, my husband shared the news that he would be away for a few days. I nodded, feigning indifference, as if it held no sway over me. Yet, the moment he departed, I sensed a change in the atmosphere. My stepson was aware of it as well. All obstacles had vanished, leaving no room for justifications. That night, I found myself on the couch, feigning interest in a movie. Yet my mind wandered elsewhere, untouched by the flickering screen. The sound of his footsteps echoed as he entered the room, and I could sense the intensity of his gaze upon me. He chose a different spot this time. Not sitting across from me as he typically did, he settled in right beside me, a bit too close for comfort. I felt a surge of tension, yet I remained rooted in place. "Are you still weaving a tale where nothing is unfolding?" he inquired, his voice flowing like a gentle stream, laced with a hint of playful mischief. I let out a long, measured breath. "This is not a game." He leaned in slightly, his arm grazing against mine. Then, the playing came to a halt. I ought to have departed, to have turned my back before the sands of time slipped away. Yet I lingered on, ensnared in the perilous attraction that bound us together. His fingers glided along the side of my hand, a whisper of a touch that sent delightful shivers racing up my spine. I turned to face him, and for a fleeting moment, silence enveloped us both. The air crackled with anticipation, the distance that separated us dwindling with each heartbeat. "This is wrong," I murmured softly. His gaze deepened into shadows. "So, what is it that draws you to it?" I found myself without a response. My body turned against me before my mind could even comprehend the shift. As his hand glided to my thigh, all the reasons to hold back faded away into the background. It was a daring act, shrouded in secrecy. Yet, in that moment, I had never felt more vibrant. I yielded to the allure, to the flame that had been quietly burning between us for far too long. Each touch sparked a flame within me, awakening feelings I had long kept hidden. It transcended mere longing. It was about the warmth of being desired, experiencing a sense of recognition that had eluded me for quite some time. In that fleeting moment, a voice within me cried out, urging me to halt. Yet, that voice faded into the background, overshadowed by the intensity of his gaze. The emotions he stirred within me, the lines faded, the boundaries crumbled. And by the moment I understood the distance we had traveled, retreat was no longer an option. Hours later, as I lay there gazing at the ceiling, the weight of reality came tumbling down. The heaviness of the recent events enveloped me, a blend of suffocation and exhilaration intertwining in a vivid embrace. I had embarked on a journey beyond imagination, yet what filled me with greater dread was not the regret. It was the undeniable truth that I felt no regret whatsoever. The dawn broke far too early. As I stirred from slumber, I found myself ensnared in unfamiliar linens, the heavy hand of reality settling upon my shoulders. My body still held onto every touch, every whispered word. Yet my mind was already caught in a whirlwind. What had I done? I turned to gaze upon him, still lost in slumber, his expression serene and tranquil. He carried no burdens of regret. I felt a pang of jealousy over that dot with each heartbeat echoing in my chest. I quietly slipped out of bed, my hands deftly gathering my clothes in the stillness of the night. Each step I took resonated with the weight of betrayal, not only towards my husband but also against the very life I believed I had built. As I stepped out, the weight of guilt crashed over me like a relentless tide. Yet, beneath the surface, hidden away, lay something entirely different. A rush of excitement that demanded my attention. Last night, I experienced a surge of vitality like never before. I attempted to maintain my composure, yet he did not follow suit. At breakfast, he had transformed. Assured. Cling. His gaze pierced through me, igniting a thrill that sent my heart racing. He was not merely a blunder I could wipe away, he was aware of it. And he wished for me to be aware of it as well. Later that morning, my husband called, his voice weaving through the air and gently pulling me back to reality. He spun tales of his journey, shared anecdotes from his job, and meandered through various topics, all while carefully sidestepping the heart-wrenching truth of his wife's profound betrayal. I compelled myself to act as if all remained the same, yet deep down, everything had shifted. As I ended the call, I noticed my stepson standing there, casually leaning against the doorframe. His smirk danced across his lips, sending a shiver coursing through me. "You're overthinking it," he remarked. I folded my arms, seeking to create a barrier between us. In the face of such madness, he simply shrugged. Perhaps. Yet, it came to pass. I took a deep breath. It shall not occur once more. He drew nearer. "Are you certain of that?" I was not. Therein lay the dilemma. I felt compelled to agree, to bring it to a close before it could unravel anymore. Yet, I was all too familiar with who I was. The line had been crossed, and retreat was no longer an option. Throughout the day, I steered clear of him. Yet, it held no significance. The harm had been inflicted. Each time I shut my eyes, his hands seemed to linger on me. Each time he passed by, my body responded instinctively before my mind could intervene. On that fateful night, my husband returned home. He pressed his lips to mine, whispering how much he longed for me. I donned a smile, embracing the role of the devoted wife. Yet, my stepson lingered in the shadows, his gaze fixed on me, harboring a secret that bound us in silent understanding. Before me lay two paths, each beckoning with its own allure. Act as if all is well while carrying the heavy burden of this treachery, or yield once more, fully aware it would unravel all that was built. As my husband drew me into his embrace, an emptiness washed over me. Without a flicker, without a glow. Yet, as my stepson glided by, his fingers just whispering against my skin, I felt my breath catch in my throat. The decision had been set in my mind. I simply wasn't prepared to acknowledge it just yet.